Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another Call of Duty Warzone video. Now since the patch came out in the mid-season update changing a lot of the weapons inside Warzone, people are not too sure which ones are actually the best in the game, so this video is going to clear it up by giving you the top 10 best guns inside Warzone. This video is going to just talk about the general feel of each gun and it won't contain any stats. If you want to see in-depth stats on all of these guns, we have plenty of videos already on the channel and you can check those out after this one. Of course, the nature of this video is a top 10 list, so some guns may be missed out. So if your favourite guns are missed out, please leave them in the comments below and let us know where you see them fit into this list. Before we get into the list, 97% of you have not subscribed to the channel, so if you're new here, definitely hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with everything regarding Season 4, and if this video gets 50 likes, we'll make another video going over all the guns in the game, ranking them from best to worst. Kicking off this list, at number 10, we have the Kar 98. Now this is a really fun gun to use. If you don't like sniper rifles and you think the ADS time is way too long, then the Kar 98, especially after this recent update, is definitely a gun for you to try out. Now you're not going to be using this gun to snipe people across the map, but it's definitely really fun to use at mid to long range gunfights, and it's definitely going to do a lot of damage, especially getting the initial knock on your opponent to then push them. And with its new damage range increase, it should be even easier to kill enemies at a distance. Of course, with the Kar 98, you still have your one-hit headshot potential, and you also need to keep in mind that you need to compensate for bullet drop with this gun because it's not a sniper rifle. Going over the best class setup for the Kar 98 inside Warzone, we have the mono suppressor, we have the Singuard barrel, we have the sport comb stock, we have the sniper scope, and we have the focus perk. This setup will give you the maximum possible range as well as a really good aim down sight time, and the focus perk is just going to help you make sure you get your shots on target. At number 9, we have the most popular sniper rifle, the HDR. Now even though my favourite sniper rifle is the AX50 and it did have a damage range buff, I still think the HDR is the easiest to use sniper rifle in this game. Even comparing the HDR to the new Rytec AMR that's recently came out with the new update, the Rytec AMR is a 2-hit headshot. Now if you land a headshot in Warzone, you want to be making sure you down those opponents. Downing your first enemy in Warzone is very important, and the HDR definitely helps with that, as you don't need to lead your enemies when you're trying to snipe them. You can pretty much aim directly at them even at a distance and you're going to land your shots. Now of course the Rytec AMR and the AX50 have their own benefits such as faster rate of fire, but like I said, landing that first shot is the most important thing, especially in Warzone, and that's why I'd recommend the HDR. Taking a look at the best class setup for the HDR, we have the mono suppressor, the 26.9 barrel, the tac laser, the focus perk, and the FTAC scout stock. This build, similar to the Kar 98, is supposed to give you the longest possible range, and this is very important, like I mentioned, inside Warzone, as you don't want to be compensating for bullet drop as much. Not using a thermal scope and making sure you have attachments on that help with your ADS speed definitely give you an advantage against other snipers. At number 8 on this list, we have the FENNEC. Now, I think the FENNEC is a very good SMG in this game, especially inside Warzone, where you should be using it for close quarters and clearing out buildings. The FENNEC by itself does not perform very well, but if you pair it with an assault rifle or a sniper rifle, I think is a really good combination to have in your loadout. When you're clearing out buildings inside Warzone, it's very important that you're very mobile, and the FENNEC's one of the most mobile guns inside Warzone. You also want to make sure that your hipfire accuracy is very good, and the FENNEC also has a really good hipfire accuracy as well. Aiming down sights with the SMG takes that extra second, and especially if you're clearing out buildings with multiple enemies, that could be the difference between life or death. So make sure you hipfire with this gun, as it definitely compensates for any missed bullets due to its really high rate of fire of 111 rounds per minute. Now do not, and I repeat, do not use the FENNEC at anything above close to medium range, as you'll be getting multiple hit markers without dealing any substantial damage at all. Going into the best class setup for the FENNEC, now this is built for close quarters as well as maximum mobility. We have the deadfall barrel, the 5mm laser, the Merc foregrip, the 40 round mags, which is very important, and the no stock attachment. The no stock attachment can be swapped out for sleight of hand, but I prefer higher mobility. But the most important attachment on this list is definitely the 40 round mags, as the standard mags inside the FENNEC is definitely not usable, especially inside Warzone. So make sure you use the FENNEC inside buildings and at close quarters, and you'll absolutely shred your enemies. At number 7, we have the CR56. This is my most used gun on this list. I've been using this gun non-stop inside Modern Warfare and Warzone since it released. Now, the main reason for me using this gun is that it has a really good recoil pattern that is easily manageable with the attachments I'll show you later on, but also it has the lowest time to kill out of all of the assault rifles inside this game. Now, why this is important to me is because my aim is not the best, so if I miss shots, I still have a chance to kill some enemies even if they land the first shot. At longer ranges, the recoil pattern on the CR56 is actually quite easy to control once you get used to it, but even if you can't control it that well, it's so easy to burst fire this gun and land your shots. Personally, I don't like the iron sights on the CR56, so I do feel like I'm wasting attachments there. Also, the mobility is not the best out of all the assault rifles, but if you're using this at long range inside Warzone, it's not that noticeable. What's definitely noticeable is that low time to kill as I melt through enemies with this gun. Taking a look at the best class setup, we have the mono suppressor, the Zodiac barrel, the commando foregrip, and the 45 round mags, and you can either change the VLK scope to attack laser if you want to, but I use the VLK scope because I'm not a big fan of the iron sights. Another quick tip regarding the VLK scope, and you will see it as a theme throughout the rest of this video, is that it actually does also help with the horizontal recoil and controlling that with your gun. If you use the VLK scope with the commando foregrip, it's going to give the CR56 a very vertical recoil without any side-to-side bounce, and that's going to be very easy to control on controller or keyboard and mouse. At number 6 on this list, we have one of the most popular guns in the game, the M4A1. Now, for some people, the M4 would be at number 1. Now, the reason I did not put the M4 at number 1 is that it does take a bit more skill to learn how to use the M4. Now, what's so good about the M4A1 is that it performs really well at every single range. And you can easily use this in a class setup by itself and you won't be in any sort of disadvantage at all. It performs really well with hipfire as well, so at close range the M4A1's great. At medium range is probably where it performs the absolute best, as its high rate of fire just melts through enemies. But where it involves a bit of skill is at longer range because the recoil pattern is a bit tougher to control, and this is going to involve you having a lot more practice with the M4 before you can use it at longer distances. Now, I absolutely understand when people would have this higher up on the list, but like I said, it does involve a bit more skill, and other guns are slightly easier to use. Going into the best class setup for the M4A1, we have the mono suppressor again, we have the grenadier barrel, the tac laser, the commando foregrip, and the 50 round mags. The 50 round mags could easily be swapped out for the 60 round mags, it's just I prefer a little bit extra mobility. If you want a well-balanced assault rifle that can perform well at every range and also takes out multiple enemies, and you're going to pair this with Ghost and an RPG or Ghost and a sidearm, this is definitely the gun you should be using. At number 5, we have the M13. Now, the M13 is a great gun to be using at long range. Even though the M13 has a high rate of fire, you would expect the recoil pattern to be really difficult to control, but that's not the case with the M13. The recoil pattern is very manageable, and that's what makes it a great gun to use inside Warzone, as you can kill enemies at a distance with the M13 very easily. Different to the guns that are later on in this list, the M13, even with its longest barrel, does have really great mobility as well. You can use this gun at close to medium range, but its performance at medium to long range is much better than its close range performance, and you should pair this gun with an SMG. The M13's iron sights are not the best, but they're definitely usable at longer ranges, and that definitely helps when we're looking at attachments. Taking a look at the attachments for the M13, we have the mono suppressor, the marksman barrel, the tac laser, the commando foregrip, and the 50 round mags. So again here, another viable setup could be swapping out the tac laser for the VLK scope and swapping out the 50 round mags for the 60 round mags. But the main focus of these attachments is to improve the long range accuracy of the M13. When I started playing Warzone, the M13 was my go-to gun because it was easy to use, and that still stands right now. So at longer ranges, if you find it difficult to kill enemies, definitely give the M13 a go. Before we get into the top 4 guns, and if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. At number 4, we have a very underrated gun, the BRUEN MK9. In a previous video, I was almost certain that the BRUEN would be the new meta for Warzone, as it has some of the best characteristics for long-range engagements, especially inside Warzone. Some of the downsides to the BRUEN is that it does have low mobility since it is an LMG, but this can be fixed with some of your attachments. And probably the most important is that it's a pain to unlock with its challenges. other than that, the BRUEN is a beast. It has a low time to kill, it has a great recoil pattern which is so easy to control. And being honest, I actually quite like the iron sights on the BRUEN as well, so I don't feel like you're going to be wasting an attachment there. If you're landing your shots, the BRUEN absolutely shreds through enemies so easily at any distance. So taking a look at some of the attachment combinations for the BRUEN MK9, we have the mono suppressor again, we have the XRK barrel, we have the no stock attachment, the 60 round mags, which is very important as well, and the commando foregrip. Now this attachment combination makes the BRUEN very much usable at closer ranges. Now you should only be using the BRUEN at medium to long range anyways, but it still can perform really well with these attachments at close range. The important attachments to take note of here are the no stock attachment and the 60 round mag attachment, as it's these two attachments that make the BRUEN perform more like an assault rifle and less like a light machine gun. A lot of people overlook the BRUEN because it's a light machine gun, but definitely give it a chance and you won't regret it. So now we're getting to the big boys in the list, and at number 3 we have the Kilo. I think most people overlook the Kilo because it's the first gun you unlock, but in fact the Kilo is one of the best guns in the game, especially for Warzone. The Kilo is so well balanced. Now similar to the M4, the Kilo performs really well at every single range. The only difference being is that it's much easier to use at longer ranges. Now after the patch, believe it or not, you can outgun a Grau at long range, providing you can control the recoil of course. But that's what's so good about the Kilo, that the recoil is so easy to manage that almost anyone can do it. The iron sights are not the best, but definitely still usable at close to medium range, and the mobility for the Kilo is pretty good as well. So taking a look at the best attachments for the Kilo, we have the mono suppressor again, we have the Prowler barrel, we have the VLK scope, the 50 round mags, and the commando foregrip. If you like the iron sights on the Kilo, I definitely recommend using the tac laser instead of the VLK scope. Your gun will definitely benefit from that decreased ADS time. With this Kilo setup, you should be finding yourself winning a lot more games of Warzone because this Kilo is absolutely amazing. At number 2, there's no surprise that the best SMG in the game is still the MP5. Even after the damage range reduction, it was not significant enough to knock this gun off of the second place spot. Yes, it has now slightly less damage range, but you shouldn't be using the MP5 at longer ranges anyway, and at close range, it's still the best SMG in the game. Clearing out buildings, hip firing, all of that is definitely very easy with the MP5. As soon as you pick up this gun, especially with the right attachments, the kills will almost look like they're coming to you. If you're using the MP5, I would stay away from the 10mm rounds as those have had the biggest nerf. Not many people used it inside Warzone anyway, so I don't see this being much of a difference. But the MP5 has a lot of advantages such as a low time to kill, high mobility, fast fire rate. It's got everything you need for a close range gun. These attachments are going to help you get the most out of your MP5. You want to use the monolithic integral suppressor, the tac laser, the Merc foregrip, the 45 round mags, and either sleight of hand or the F-tac collapsible stock. Use the standard stock if you want a bit more accuracy at range. If you rather have higher mobility, go for the collapsible stock. Either way, the MP5 is still an amazing gun and an easy gun to use. Some people would still argue that the MP5 still needs a nerf, but it's definitely much of an improvement for what it was before. Not much needs to be said about the MP5, there's a reason why everyone's using it. At number 1, again, this should be no surprise, we have the Grau 556, and it seems like that nothing can actually take this gun off of the top number 1 spot. Even though this gun has had a damage range nerf and a recoil nerf, this gun still performs way better than any of the other assault rifles, especially at those longer ranges inside Warzone. The Grau 556 is so easy to use that a new player can pick this up and do really well. It's probably just a bit unfortunate that it takes a while to unlock. The recoil is so easy to control at long range that you can actually beat sniper rifles with this gun, and after the nerf this still seems to be the case. The nerf was along the right direction and there does seem to be some differences, but it still wasn't significant enough to stop this gun being number 1. So if you want the best gun in the game, here it is. It's the mono suppressor, the Archangel barrel, the tac laser, the commando foregrip, and the 50 round mags. Now once again, the 50 round mags can be swapped out for the 60 round mags, and the tac laser can be swapped out for the VLK scope. The iron sights in the Grau are so good that it seems pointless using a scope, so I'd recommend staying away from any scopes as it just wastes an attachment. So that's it, the top 10 list for the best guns inside Warzone after patch 1.23. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you agree with this list and if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment your list down below, and also if you get this video to 50 likes, we'll rank every single gun inside Warzone from best to worst. And that's all for today's video, thank you very much for watching.